SMX Facts time. We're bringing in our statistician, Clinton Fowler. Now, Clinton, you did a deep dive into starts and how they're becoming A, more important, and B, harder to consistently get right in Supercross the last few years. We're going to dive even deeper. JT, you've been talking a lot about the condition of the ruts and the gates and all these things. So just give us a primer on how this all works, Clinton.
Yeah, so gate position is just as important as getting that start and the condition. And you've got 22 gates. Gate number 1, the furthest inside. The gate number 22, that's the furthest outside. And typically gate 11 and 12, those are the ones right on the inside and the outside of the box. So pretty easy conceptually speaking.
Okay, so if you dive into data here, are you beginning to see an indication of certain gates are better than others? I know the extreme outside's not very good, but motocross is weird, and supercross, they don't always just pick pole position on the inside. So what are you seeing?
Yeah. In Philadelphia, it was pretty interesting. We actually saw 6 of the 8 hole shots over the day come from the gates 11 through 13. So those are the ones right around the box, just inside of the box, and the 2 gates outside of the box. Jett Lawrence in the main event actually took an outside gate, which we'll talk about a little bit, is a bit of a rarity for him. He got it from the hole shot from gate 12. But JT, 10 of the 21 main event hole shots this year as a whole have come from the 2 gates on either side of the box. What makes those positions so desirable?
Well, it's just that extra room, right? You have that big box in between those 2 gates, and that just provides a little bit of cushion, because if the rider on either side of you happens to get a better jump, normally your start's over. If you're in the middle to the inside and you don't get a jump that you would want, you're getting a bad start. There's no way out of it. Well, that being next to that box gives you that room on, if you're in gate 11, you can move to your right. If you're in gate 12, you can move to your left, and you don't have to let off the throttle. That's the whole thing, right? Engaging that clutch or letting off the throttle will ensure a poor start, and that extra little bit of room that they can move over allows them to, leave the throttle on. They don't have to double clutch or do anything like that. So doesn't necessarily guarantee a good start. It just gives them a better chance at it.
Okay, so that's right in the middle, the starter's box. Clinton, what do you see inside versus outside beyond that?
Yeah, there's actually a really clear advantage, or at least it looks like it. The inside gates have gotten 14 of 21 hole shots this season as a whole, and that's in the 450 main events. Now, the interesting part about that, you don't see a whole heck of a lot of them coming from gates 1 through 4. We've only seen 4 of those 14 hole shots come from those. So it's really gates 5 through 11 where we see 10 of the 14 hole shots from the inside coming from. Those seem to be the most likely where you're going to get a hole shot from. What do you think, JT? Why is that the case?
Well, ideally, you just want a straight shot at these 180-degree left-hand corners, right? You don't want to have to bend back right to then go left, which is the problem with gates 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to have to go right then left, which is just not ideal for carrying any momentum. It's very easy to get pinched to the inside by the riders to your right in that scenario. So you want that straight shot. You get down there. You also control the inside, which makes gates 11, 12, and 13 a little bit tougher. If you don't get there first, typically bad news tends to roll outside, right? And what I mean by that is if guys on the inside tangle, they're going to push wide and cause a lot of problems for you on the outside. So most of the guys feel a little bit safer in those inside gates. It's also just, again, it's that straight shoot down to that hard left-hand corner.
Okay, Clinton, do you see a tendency of certain riders to want to go to certain spots in general?
There's actually, there is for sure. Jett and Hunter Lawrence, not surprisingly, family members, and look to deploy the same strategy on the start. They tend to go to the inside. You take Jett Lawrence, he's actually taken the most inside gate of any of the riders. Hunter Lawrence, he's taken the 5th most to the inside. The interesting part here is it makes sense for Jett. He's got the best average gate pick. So he's got the pick of the litter. He's going inside. That's his preference. But what's really interesting is when you see Hunter Lawrence do it, Hunter's got the 12th best gate pick on average. So he doesn't have necessarily the greatest heat finish positions, right? So he's not necessarily getting that great gate pick. but he's still going towards an inside gate. So very clear that the Lawrence brothers have a strategy to take a more inside gate. But the one that I think you guys will really find interesting is Eli Tomac, the complete opposite. He actually has gone to the outside the majority of the time. He's gone to the outside 13 times of the 21 main events this season. So clearly has a different strategy than the Lawrence brothers. JT, when I look at this, really for me, it breaks down to just how important the heat races are. And it can get lost in it as just running through the day and getting to the main event. But the reality is the heat race position is going to determine your gate pick. Your gate pick is going to lead to what gate position you get. It seems like that would be one of the most important little races of the whole entire day, JT.
It really is, especially if you have a bias or a personal preference of where you want to be. You know, it very much feels like Jett wants to be to the inside, as your data indicates. It feels like maybe Eli Tomac wants to be a little bit further outside. And Eli Tomac just feels better sweeping in, right? He wants to drive it in deep and sweep around the outside, where I think Jett feels a little bit safer. And that's when you see guys go to the inside, it's typically a conservative move, right? You can absolutely hole shot there, but when things go really sideways, being on the inside is just a better place to be. It's a safer place. And I think Jett feels like he's the best rider in the field, and the biggest risk for him is a big first turn crash. Well, guess what happens in a big first turn crash? Usually the guys on the outside suffer the worst. So there's a lot of personal preference there, but yes, to your point, those heat race and qualifying positions dictate whether you get to choose or whether you are dictated to on where you're going to end up starting.
That really illustrates what happened in Philadelphia. Jett goes down on the start of his heat. He only had the 7th best pick. He ended up being outside the box, the normal Tomac spot, not where Jett normally wants to be. He somehow pulled it off, but I would imagine that's not a position he wants to be in again going into Denver. So we'll be watching maybe those heat races a little more closely. What do you think, Clinton?
I would. That's definitely going to give you a signal for where the best gates are, probably where some of the best condition gates are too, as JT has highlighted a little bit earlier.
Yep. Yeah. Position, condition, which one will they pick, and what will be the order that they pick? We'll find out this weekend. Thanks for the data.
Thanks, guys.
On Saturday, if you want to watch, Race Day Live on Peacock and the SMX Video Pass at 1:30 Saturday afternoon. That's Eastern time, and racing at 7 Eastern Saturday evening. It is Mountain Time out in Denver, but racing is 7 Eastern. But the big thing is another NBC show. There'll be an encore airing of Denver, 4 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. So tell your friends to tune in for Supercross.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.